Newcastle United keep or sell 2024-25 campaign. Now, due to the fact that Manchester United have won the FA Cup final, it now means that Newcastle are completely out of Europe, and Eddie Howe has made it public knowledge in his press conferences that certain players inside the club would either stay or go depending on whether Newcastle are in the Conference League or not. So now that we're not in the Conference League, it means that Eddie Howe is more likely to be ruthless in this transfer window, and a lot of our players will go out of the door. So I'm here in this video today to actually go through them one by one. Which ones would I personally sell, keep or loan out? And to same with you guys as well, let me know down in the comment section your thoughts. Do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree with them? Just quickly, I want to say thank you so much for all the lovely messages I've received. I will update you on my health in my next video. I know this one's going to be such a long video, so I'm not going to go into it too much now, but judging by the fact that you can see me here, you can clearly tell that I'm doing better. So I will update you in my next video. But yeah, without further ado, let's see what players I personally would keep and sell. Starting off with the goalkeeper, as we begin with number one, and that is Nick Pope. Of course, a man that is currently out of the England international team. He's just got back from a dislocated shoulder, so it's an injury that, unfortunately, especially in a goalkeeper, is one you've got to watch out for. But for now, safe, comfortable, he will stay at Newcastle and be here next season. As for the goalkeeper who has got all the game time last season, Martin Bradker. Now, this is someone that is 35 years old, and in my personal opinion, I don't rate him. I think we've got to move on now. We've had him since 2018. Unbelievable signing at the time, had some class games for Newcastle, but for me, his time has passed. I would personally sell Martin Bradker. A goalkeeper we already know is leaving the football club, that being Loris Karius. He's played Newcastle United twice, one of them being the Carabao Cup final, and the other one being quite a huge game against Arsenal. So he's been here in big moments, but ultimately his family wants him to move elsewhere. He will be leaving the UK, and unfortunately his time at Newcastle United is coming to an end. Going on the flip side, a goalkeeper that we know is staying at Newcastle United next season is, of course, Mark Gillespie. He's signed a one-year extension with the football club, and he is the man that, let's be honest, is living everyone's dream life. I mean, getting paid 5 digits a week, Newcastle every single day, just enjoying his life, and he's had a good moment in Australia, I suppose, so fair play to him. He's got at least one more year at the club. Moving on to the right backs, this is quite a tricky one, but Kieran Trippier, what do people think about him now? I think a lot of people are split down the middle of him, because you can either sell Trippier now, get some money for him, or you can stick with him. For me, you could sell him now for around £12 million or so, which is a good deal for someone in his middle 30s. I think especially with fullbacks as well, your legs tend to go quite a bit with your pace, and I think we're already seeing that with Kieran now. I feel like he's important behind the scenes though, and it's a bit of a gamble, but I would keep him for one more season. I think he has one more year left in him, and then I think he'll leave next summer. So I would personally keep. A right back that every single Newcastle fan is saying keep to is Tino Livramento. Nobody is saying so to this guy. He's quite literally our best fullback at the club. We love watching him. We needed someone that was going to be that Trippier replacement already before we even looking at our players. Livramento is that guy. He's already that guy. He's quality. He's so good to watch, and yes, I would say yes all day long to this one. Definitely is a player that we need to keep at the club. Can't believe I'm saying this, but Emil Kraft, keep. This guy's classy. He continues to impress me. He has to come into centre half because of the Botman injury, and time again, is he the best player we have? Absolutely not, but he's someone as a rotation player, does a great job for Newcastle, and for me, you 100% want to keep this guy in your club for at least one more season. Love watching him. I wasn't sure whether or not to include this player, but Harrison Ashby did come in as a first team sign, so I believe for the case of this video he should be included. I'm not sure exactly whether I would sell or loan him out. I would probably be more leaning to loan him for one more season just to see where he is, but personally for me, I would loan Harrison Ashby out, make sure he gets a bit more game time elsewhere from this football club. Moving into the centre halves, we start off with the first of two that are missing games next season, that being Sven Botman. He is currently suffering with an ACL injury that will keep him out for at least the first 4 months of next season. It's a horrible injury to your best centre half, which is going to mean that we're going to have to get some more players in. But Sven Botman will stay at the football club next season. He couldn't leave anyway, even if he wanted to. Alongside Botman, we have his partner in crime, that being Fabian Schär, a player we brought in back in 2017, I believe now, for £3.5 million. And this guy continues to get better wage. Again, he's by far the best centre-half we have. That's fit, 100% keep. I love Fabian Schär. Still got that raw ability that he's had all those years ago, and he just continues to get better. We know Jamal Lascelles is staying. Just like Botman, he has an ACL tear around the same time as well. It's a freak injury that is also going to keep him out for at least the first 4 months of next season. So best of luck to both of them. But both of them will be staying at the football club. This is the first player that Eddie Howe has publicly spoken about and said that if Manchester United lose the FA Cup final, Paul Dummett would actually get a 1-year extension at Newcastle United because of the fact that we need homegrown players in our squad now. Due to the fact that we aren't in Europe, I actually think this is the end of Paul Dummett. I think he'll leave the football club. There'll be no new contract. And after 24 years of being a part of Newcastle United, I feel like his career at this club is now finally over. So best of luck to Paul, but I think he's gone. As one local lad goes out, we now talk about the future, as Lewis Hall is our current first team left back. What a year this guy has had. I understand why Chelsea fans were so adamant about keeping him at their football club. Someone that it took a while for Lewis to get into our team, but once he's got him, he's never looked like getting out. He looks so good on the ball, and he's someone that has years under his belt here at Newcastle. So pleased with signing him. What a player he is. 100% he is staying at the club. Staying on the topic of local lads, we now move into a much older one, and that being Dan Burn. He's from Blythe, and he is also staying at Newcastle United. I love him as a centre-half, hate him as a left-back. That's my personal opinion on him. I think he's such a Marmite player. But as long as he stays centre-back for me, he's got a couple more years at this football club for sure. Matt Targett's a weird one because this guy has been plagued with injuries. It just hasn't worked out at all. He's had a good loan spell from Aston Villa. Newcastle then signed the player. And ever since, it's just went backwards. It hasn't went forward at all for Matt Targett. And this one's a tricky one because he hasn't really played, so I think it's harsh to go, well, this guy deserves to leave because he hasn't played. But at the same time, he's had loads of injuries. He's got a big concern in his future at the club, and I'm not sure on him. So yeah, I think I would sell him. If any decent money comes in for this guy, I would actually sell him. We've got good cover. If Lloyd Kelly comes in, which is expected to happen, he's a left back and a centre half. We don't need Target. We just don't need this guy. So if we can get some decent money for him, yeah, I would take it. The second player that would have stayed at Newcastle if Manchester United lost the FA Cup final is Matt Ritchie now, because of the fact that, again, Newcastle aren't in Europe. This, once again, is a player that I think will leave Newcastle United. However, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if he actually retires now and just works at Newcastle, who just has some job at Newcastle where he stays at the club but just not in a playing capacity. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but I think his playing days at Newcastle are now over. Jamal Lewis, we know, will leave the football club. He's been out on loan all season to Watford. I've heard he's had a decent time in Watford as well, so if it's possible where we can get a couple £1 million in for this guy, despite the £12 million that we spent on him, and it's always going to be a horrible loss on our point of view, but at least now we get a little bit of money in for him. He can play elsewhere. It's just a player that's never worked out at Newcastle, which was a shame because he was so high in demand coming in for Norwich City. Moving into the midfield now, we've got Bruno in the middle, and a player that I'm now bricking about because of the fact that we haven't got Europe. He's the one that I feel like if we were to miss out, it's one that could potentially go out the door. But I still believe that he'll stay at Newcastle, at least in his mind he wants to stay at Newcastle. So as long as he wants to be here, of course we as fans want him to stay, and I'm going to 100% back him as keep. However, if a good offer comes in for him, the player wants to leave, I'm not completely against getting a bunch of money in for him, so on the FFP we can make those player sales, but we've got to keep him. If you want to get anywhere, we've got to keep players like Bruno. So for me, I'm definitely leaning towards keep. Speaking of the Brazilians, we move into Joelinton, the biggest transformation any player's had at Newcastle. He came in as a £40 million flop of a striker and is transformed into one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. It's not even an exaggeration to say that. This guy is actually up there. He's had a horrible injury against Sunderland, which has kept him out for half the campaign, but still someone we love. We know he's staying because of the contract extension. We're so glad he is staying, and for me, this is a club legend. Got to keep a hold of these sort of players again. Jordan, easy keep. Sandro Tonali, a player who has basically missed the entire season due to, of course, his betting laws that he has broken, which has kept him in the suspended list. I'm so glad he's now back as a player, and for him, has a big point to prove. Has to prove his name, has to prove everything about himself. Get out on that pitch and give 100%, and I feel like he's going to do that. I've got a good feeling about this guy. I feel like he'll do the job. He's going to be brilliant when he comes in. I can't wait for him to start for us and get Newcastle United to that next step. 100% keep, and I'm feeling good about him. The next two midfielders are interesting because I think one of them will actually leave the football club. And I went with Eddie Howe's mindset in this one, where I think Sean Longstaff will stay. I think they'll keep Sean, as much as some fans may be against him. There's also some factors going into Longstaff as well, where because of the fact he's a homegrown player, any sale will be full profit. So when you look at FFP, you look at buying players and needing to sell players so you can then spend more money. Longstaff's a pure profit. So it makes him quite a luxurious player to actually potentially offload and to then spend the money elsewhere. But I think we'll keep Sean Longstaff, and I actually think we will sell Joe Willock. Now, the problem with Joe Willock being is that he's played a full 90-minute game once last season. He's had so many injuries time and time again, and it's such a shame because I love watching this guy play, but ultimately, he can't play. He gets injured all the time. So when it's a high-value player, where again with Joe Willock, you're making a good amount of money on this man. For me, I think one will go. And if I was Eddie Howe, I would pick Joe Willock to sell. I actually would sell Joe Willock over Sean Longstaff. And I believe Newcastle will do that. Make the next two nice and easy. Two local lads, and both of them are going to easily stay. The first one being Lewis Miley. What a season he had. He's now 18 years old. He's already scored for Newcastle United. He's played for Newcastle United in the Champions League. He's had such an unbelievable first season where he has raw talent, serious talent on the ball, and he's someone that you'd expect over the next couple of seasons will only continue to get better. The sky's the limit for Lewis Miley, and I believe so much in this kid, and I believe that he'll do such an unbelievable job for us. And secondly, not quite had the progression as Lewis Miley, but still someone with a lot of potential, that being Elliot Anderson. Again, someone that has struggled this season with injuries. He's had so much going on in the background, where when he's came in, he has done a job, don't get me wrong, he has, but at the same time, he hasn't quite progressed like Lewis Miley. But then again, I don't think that's a fair comparison. So for Elliot Anderson, big season to prove himself. I feel like he has to come out of his show, and he has to start get going. But still someone that I trust. He'll stay at least one more season, and I'm expecting him to turn around and become a much better player than he already is. And finally, for centre midfielders, I can't believe this guy is even still in the conversation, but Isaac Hayden, we all know, is leaving the football club. He's done here. I loved him as a player, give 100%, but ultimately he's just not good enough, and we've got to move on from him. So as much as I love Isaac, he will leave the club. Moving on to the left-sided attacking players, we will start off with Anthony Gordon, Southgate's man, someone that is now going to the Euros. 10 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League. What a brilliant first full season he has had at Newcastle United. Unbelievable for his age. One of the best informed English players in world football at the minute. Had an unbelievable campaign. I still feel like we haven't seen the best of him yet, which makes me excited because I think we've already got quite a good player out of him. Such a nimble player that is capable of just winning a penalty like that. I mean, he just goes in the box, wins it every time, and he's someone that is... I think you love him if he plays for you, but you hate him if you're playing against him. He has that sort of bite to him. I like Anthony Gordon a lot, and he's someone that will, again, continue to get better. And speaking of the English left-hand side attackers, we have Harvey Barnes, a player that we bought for £40 million. Someone that I like a lot. Unlike St. Maximin, he actually gets the goal contribution. So even though you would technically say St. Maximin's a better player than Harvey Barnes, I actually think Harvey Barnes is a better player to have in your team because of the fact he scores goals and he gets assists. Is he the best player you ever watched? No, but he scores in big occasions for Newcastle, and he just needs a bit more consistency, and then you'll be there. But for me, he's a player that works against some teams, it doesn't work against our teams. So we've got to get the consistency levels up. But I like Harvey Barnes a lot. I feel like he has a lot to offer Newcastle, so I'm expecting a much better season from him. Now moving on to the right hand side, we start off with Miggy Almiron, a player that had the chance to leave in January to go to the Saudi League for around £25 million or so, and someone that I feel that again would have quite a lot of transfer links to him. Now for me, sell. I do like Miggy. I like his work rate, someone that's quick, but to be honest, I don't think the Premier League suits him. It's a league that's quite physical. It's a league that requires, especially out wide, two-footed players. He does not have the quality to do that, and he's someone that, if you take that purple patch out of the season before last season, then he hasn't scored that many goals for Newcastle, and I feel like, especially out wide, we've seen it with Gordon last season, but we need a lot of goals. We've got to soak in a lot of goals. We just don't have anyone on the right-hand side that can do that. So for me, if good money comes in for him, I would sell Miggy Almiron. Now, Jacob Murphy's an interesting one. Again, he's someone that I do like. He puts a lot of effort in. Obviously, local lad. He's a Newcastle fan. He's someone that likes the club a lot. But I would keep for now. But I believe next season he'll go. I think he has one more year left in him. I believe he'll be a squad rotation player. We've got to have someone much better than him in front of him. But for now, I'd keep, but I believe one more year and then he will probably go. And Ryan Fraser, we already know, is leaving the football club. Eddie Howe banished him from the first team. Once that's happened, you know he hasn't got any future going for him. Just being on loan at Southampton. As far as I'm aware, has a decent time there, but obviously depends whether or not Southampton actually win the playoffs by the time of recording this. So we'll see what happens there. But regardless, Ryan Fraser's out. It doesn't matter whether it's Southampton or not, he'll be going somewhere else and he'll be out of this football club. And last but not least, let's move into the strikers. We start off with the most unsellable man on planet Earth, that being Alexander Isak. This man is going nowhere. Absolutely no chance is anyone buying him up. For me, you could get £150 million at Alexander Isak and you couldn't replace him. Honestly, you couldn't replace him. He's just such an irreplaceable player. I feel like the way he moves as a striker, how quick he is, the fact that he's technical, but he's spot on. There's barely any strikers in world football that I think are actually as technically gifted as he is. He understands the game well, and his finishing is much, much better than it was when he first came in. For me, if I had any criticism about Isak, it's just big chances. When he gets them, he didn't always score them, but now he's scored more or less everyone that he gets. So a striker that's in form, has bagged 25 in all competitions for Newcastle last season. Irreplaceable, keep every day of the week. And speaking of the strikers, we finish off with Callum Wilson now, our second highest goal scorer in Premier League history. Someone that had a lot of background noise surrounding him, but did come back in against Brentford, did travel to Australia for Newcastle's couple of friendlies over there. But in all honesty, I still think he'll leave the club. I just feel like you can't rely on him. Now, the issue being for Newcastle is whether or not they've got the money to replace him. So in their eyes, unless they get good money for Callum Wilson, Newcastle might stick with their guns and actually not sell him, because if they don't get more than, let's say, 10, 15 million pounds for him, is it worth selling him if you can't replace him? So in Newcastle's eyes, they might actually keep him if they don't get any good money for him. But for me, I believe the player wants to go. Obviously, he wanted the Atletico Madrid move in January. He wanted the chance to go when he had it. Hasn't happened, and he's had a bit of frustration since that. So even though Newcastle want to keep him, I actually still think Callum Wilson will go. I don't know where he'll go, but I believe he'll leave Newcastle, and it will put us in a bit of a tricky situation, but we will replace him, and it will benefit us better long term. So yeah, that's all the players we've got through there. They give you a couple of extra ones in terms of a couple of youth players. Alex Murphy, of course, current left back / centre half. I think will stay. I don't think we'll loan him out. As for Yankuba Mintas, there's been a lot of noise surrounding him. He's got double figures for Feyenoord. Of course, they won the Dutch league. For me, I believe we'll loan him out again. So whether you go back to Feyenoord for another season or you go somewhere else, I believe we'll loan him. Guran Kiol, I also think we'll loan out. Someone where it just hasn't worked out for him at all. Two bad loan moves now. This is your third and final chance. Guran, get out there, have a good year somewhere. If it doesn't happen, then I'll sell next summer. So we'll see what happens to those three. But yeah, that's what I would do. Quite a lot of sell there. I think we've had about I don't know, 10 or 11 sales in that team. So I think we will offload quite a bit because we had to one on the FFP sales, and two, now that we haven't got European football, it gives Newcastle that excuse where you need to clear out. I think we'll be ruthless. I think Eddie Howe won't be pragmatic because of the fact we haven't got Europe. Now is no excuses. Now you've got that chance. There's no restrictions, no regulations in place. So you've got to keep likes of Dummins, you've got to keep likes of Matt Ritchie. Now there's no restrictions, so just get rid of them all, get them all out. You get them all out, then we'll have a good season. We'll refresh, we'll go again, and then next summer, that's when you've got that core. So for me now, this is the summer where we clear out. What's done is done. We haven't got Europe. Let's use this opportunity. Let's make sure we get all of this dead wood out, get it all out so we can refresh, get better players in, and make sure next summer we have European football. Let's make sure we have something next summer. That's what we've got to do now, and that's what I personally believe Newcastle will do. But anyway, guys, appreciate you all watching. Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be back on YouTube. It's a pleasure to be feeling better. Still not doing amazing, gonna be honest. I may feel different in this video, but trust me, I'm still not 100%. So bear with me as well, recover. But I'm back now on YouTube. Looking forward to making videos again. It's an absolute pleasure. But what do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know down in the comment section, and we shall see you all in the next one.